I am Groot.
Hi, I'm Brian.
And I'm Derica, and you're watching City Steading. To learn to grow and brew and take control of your food, hit subscribe now and hit that bell icon if you want to be the first to know when we have something new for you. Today we're talking about Gruit.
Now, do you know what Groot is? Because I actually didn't know what Groot was. And I heard about it, I thought, that just sounds really cool. I need to make that. Because I'm one of those weird people. Like if somebody says, oh, you should make beer, I come up with the weirdest way to make beer possible rather than just actually making beer. And then eventually I get around to making beer too, which is exactly what happened. No, I made beer, then I make beer. But anyway, whatever. Groot is just an ancient form of beer, okay? It didn't have hops traditionally. It used herbs and spices and things like that to bitter it and flavor it. For instance, this one that we made is rosemary, lavender, chamomile Groot. So it puts you to sleep, basically. But we ordered some of these herbs online and just made something really, really cool with it. It's actually got 2-row malt, brown sugar, rosemary, chamomile, lavender, and all you haters out there, I used Fleischmann's bread yeast. It came out to somewhere in the neighborhood of like 6%. Actually, my phone's over there.
So eventually we're going to be doing a video showing you the differences between the different measuring devices, because if you look at our label, it says it has an ABV of 3.6. That is wrong.
It's like 8.
Because what happened is
6.
initially we bought a gravity hydrometer, and then we found out about refractometers, and we thought that was super cool.
Why do people use
super
hydrometers?
Easy. Well, the problem is, and we'll get into this further,
once there's alcohol in the mix, it doesn't come through well because it doesn't bend the light the same. So there's calculations you can do. Now here's the problem. Every one of those places that does the calculations comes out different. I've never seen two that come out the same. And there's a lot of calculations to get to those calculations. So you know what? Just use a hydrometer. It's so much easier. They cost like $8.
While we were miscalculating our alcohol percentages, we were coming up with these really low alcohol percentage brews.
I'm giving it to friends going, hey, try this.
And we're like, wow, I'm feeling a little something from this, and it shouldn't be that way if it's only that 3.6%. Well, guess what? It wasn't.
Yeah, this is like 6 or 7%, but it's okay.
So you're probably wondering, where is the making of Groot video? And that's a good question, and we're going to talk about that right now.
You talk about it while I pour.
Okay.
Wait, get ready for the pop. Oh, there it is. That's carbonation, folks.
Yep. So the reason why we didn't make a video of Groot is because we pretty much learned what Groot was, and then Brian decided he was going to make it within a matter of hours. So
it took a couple days.
We didn't have any idea what we were doing. We didn't have any idea how it should have tasted, and this was entirely, completely, and totally experimental. We didn't have a recipe. What we found were the different parts that were required to make a Groot, and we used logic to come up with our own recipe. We knew we needed a bittering agent. We knew we needed aromatics, and we knew we needed flavor enhancers. So that's how Brian came up with this recipe, and some of it we grew in our backyard, so that helped.
No, we didn't. We actually bought all these.
The rosemary?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a big bag of rosemary that we got. It was too early. We didn't have any.
All right, so we didn't have any, but we do grow rosemary and lavender in our backyard. And we tried growing chamomile, and that did not work so well, so we're going to try that again. Okay, so that is why we did not film the making of Groot.
Because we didn't want you to see us screw it up and make funny faces at something that we thought tasted disgusting.
But, as you will find out soon, that was not the case for this little bad boy. So there will be a new making of Groot video where Brian perfects his recipe.
Yeah, I might make a different recipe. Leave a couple things out.
So let's get to the Groot, shall we?
So Groot is basically beer, okay? It's a simpler type of beer. It's a more ancient beer. So it might be more cereally tasting to some people, and it might be sweeter depending on the recipe. It might be less bitter. This one uses rosemary mostly for bittering. The chamomile and the lavender are really there for aromatics and for flavoring, and they come through. I'm getting total, like, the chamomile comes through on this a lot. Lavender is beautiful
If you
too.
really like tea and you enjoy beer,
Yeah.
more than likely you are going to love Gruit.
So it's tier or B.
It's Gruit.
Yeah. There's so many different ways to make Gruit, just like beer, just like meads. All these things have, I mean, you can make any recipe you want. You can just use the basic stuff and find something to bitter it. I mean, you can bitter it with pine needles. You can bitter it with tree bark. Anything that has tannins in it really can act as a bittering. But anyway, let's get to tasting and smelling. And
So you may
sniffing.
notice we have added to our ever-expanding glassware selection.
Belgian beer tasting glasses.
We will have a link for these bad boys in the description below.
Bad boys is your word of the
Bad
day.
boys is my word for the day. I am sorry. All right, so we start off with a beautiful golden hue,
It's very clear too. That's condensation because it's gold.
and it has a very tiny bit of head from the carbonation, which is lasting
Just a little
a
head.
nice amount of time. Visually, I would say it's very appealing.
Oh yeah, looks like beer. I definitely get the herbs off of the
Yes.
smell, which I've said that before. I think this aged nicely too. This is a few months old now. It's total chamomile. Like, it just smells like
Yeah, it
chamomile and
smells
lavender tea.
wonderful.
I get a little cereal off of it too.
We didn't put a date on this.
No. We were so excited to make the label that we forgot to put a date on it.
This is also proof that I do make fancy labels. We're not limited to our gorgeously crafted Scotch or masking tape.
Anyway, cheers. Oh wow, I forgot this was nice.
It's crisp. It's refreshing.
It tastes like a very light, like a light beer. It's not a heavy beer. It tastes light, but almost an herbal beer. That's the easiest way to describe
The
it.
carbonation kind of coats your tongue. It doesn't stay with you because it's not overly syrupy. But it does feel nice.
Yeah, it's got just the right amount of carbonation, so it doesn't like kill you. It's got just that little tiny bit of astringency, and that's going to be from the rosemary most likely. So it does make your cheeks puff out. It's not tannic, but it gives that little bit of a bitterness to combat. There would be a lot of sugars in this otherwise. It would taste super sweet. And then you get the little bit of like almost an herbal tea flavoring in there.
Yep.
It's just a really nice, crisp. Think like summertime, sit outside.
Yes, yes. This would be very refreshing in the heat of summer, which we are currently in, but we're inside. So.
Yeah, it's 95,000 degrees out there. The easiest way to describe Florida heat right now, I read this in a meme and I'm going to steal it, is start up your clothes dryer with some wet clothes in there, like really wet clothes. Start it up. Let it go for about 10 minutes. Then turn it off and stick your head in there. That's what it's like walking outside our back door.
It's a sauna.
No, a sauna is supposed to be a pleasurable experience.
But do you know what is a pleasurable experience? Drinking Gruit. Brian's just making fun of me because I was so excited to do the Gruit voice.
She did pretty good. Any more? What? This is good.
So as you can tell, we really like Gruit. We will, I promise, eventually get to making of a Gruit video for you. Once Brian tweaks his recipe. And
I'm going to start over. I'm going to go a whole different one.
okay.
Well, why not?
It's
Have fun with it.
Brian's the brew guy, so
I made this already. I'm over it.
if you
can make a
have
different thing.
suggestions on some herbs you would like to see in the Gruit, feel free to leave those in the comments.
Something that I'm actually trying to start to do is a concept called yard brewing, where you go out in your backyard and you pick stuff that you have already. Like, for instance, we grow raspberries, we grow mulberries, and we grow grapes. Those three leaves add a tannic aspect to different brews. We can use the twigs of some of these trees too as an extra tannin, and there's yeasts in all those. So wild fermentation, it's coming. I might even, oh, a lambic
Gruit.
Gruit. Derek's been bugging me to make a peach lambic, like this company. I forget the name of it. They're Belgian. Somebody's gonna know. It's just a really awesome beer thing. It's not really beer anymore. It's a peach lambic beer, but it doesn't really taste like beer at all.
It's wonderful.
It's just awesome. But lambic means wild fermentation. Obviously, mine won't taste like theirs because I don't have the same yeast strains that they have. But the concept is still there. And if we grew peaches, maybe I could do it. How about a mulberry lambic? Or a raspberry lambic?
I'm good with that.
That would be nice. As a group, that'd be interesting too. I'm also considering growing hops. I've mentioned that before. We're just waiting until the heat of summer goes so that we can actually start planting some things again. Our garden is basically...
It's a mess.
It just died. It's the end of the growing season in Florida, and a new growing season starts up in four to 6 weeks or so. So we'll see a whole different stuff there too.
All right. So the synopsis of this video is Gruit is good.
And this Gruit's really good.
If you can find some, I would say get it and drink it. If you're brave enough to brew some on your own, I would say go for it. And once we get
And if you can wait a little while,
our new recipe
I'll
out,
show you how to do it.
go ahead and do that too.
I'm going to put the ingredients for this one in the description though. So if you know how to brew beer, you can kind of do this already.
Yeah.
That way if anybody was curious. And I got a lot of the stuff from Amazon and whatnot, so it's pretty simple, guys.
Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers!
Hey everybody, if you want to learn to grow and brew and take control of your food, don't forget to hit the subscribe icon down below and hit the little bell next to it. That way you get notified of everything we do.